Hello and welcome to another edition of Featured Business, brought to you by your host, myself, James Moffat, and Visibility Impact. Now today we have our 68th guest, Connie, who's going to introduce herself a little later. But before we do that, we're going to listen to a song by Emily. So unfortunately, Emily couldn't make it today. So she's given us her link to her YouTube channel, and Connie has selected the song. So we're just going to switch over there and listen to Emily, and we'll come straight back and then focus on Connie. Hi, Emma.
Hello, James. Hello, everyone. Good to see you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I couldn't join earlier, but I'm glad I could make it.
No problem.
Very nice. You're like in the background is a black and white photo, and you're so colorful in front.
Yeah, so by the end of the week, when you are a bit tired, so bright colors are just the right thing.
Yes. This is not a flirting channel, by the way. So be careful. It's not dating, although you could date afterwards if you fancied. But anyway, over to Emily. So I'm just going to share my screen, and we've got a song selected by Connie of Emily. Let's just get that. So here we go.
I'm trying to hold my breath. Let it stay this way. Can't let this moment end. You set off a dream with me, getting louder now. Can you hear it echoing? Take my hand. Will you share this with me? 'Cause darling, without you, all the shine of 1,000 spotlights, all the stars we steal from the night sky will never be enough, never be enough. Towers of gold are still too little. These hands could hold the world, but it'll never be enough, never be enough for me. Never, 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 never for me. Never enough, never enough, never enough for me, for me, for me. All the shine of 1,000 spotlights, all the stars we steal from the night sky will never be enough, never be enough. Towers of gold are still too little. These hands could hold the world, but it'll never be enough, never be enough for me. Never, 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 never for me, for me. Never enough, never, never, never enough, never, never, never enough
Thank you.
Bravo. Bravo, Emily, again. There's another amazing song. Right. Everybody could hear it okay?
Both of us can hear.
Sorry?
Both of us can hear.
Okay. Hello. Right. Can she be the guest speaker next week?
Yes.
Yeah. Does she speak English?
No, but she can answer in Bulgarian any question.
Okay then. Hi, Paul.
Hello.
Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Right.
Hi,
So,
Brian. Hi, James.
marvelous. Thank you. So, 68 guest Connie. So let's make a start because there's a lot to go through here. And Connie has some fantastic stories to tell, tons of pivot points, interesting background, does many, many amazing things. And I'm ready to hear the stories. Are you ready? Everybody ready? Right. Does anybody know anything about Connie? No, right. So let the show begin. So Connie, over to you and share with us. First of all, tell us, pronounce your full name. Now I'm going to say it. I think I know how to say this one. It's quite easy. Connie Schneider.
Yes, that's exactly.
Was that right?
Yes.
Now Schneider is a typical German name.
Mm.
So I assume in both your parents, well, at least your father is German.
Yes, my mother is from the Philippines and my father is German.
All right. Okay. So, and Connie, where's that from?
It's actually the English name of, like, you know how to write it with an Y in the end. It's the English version of Connie. But in Germany, I always would be asked if it's from Cornelia or from Constanze. So it's not typically German.
All right. And do you have a nickname or an abbreviated name, or is it just Connie?
It's just Connie.
All right. Okay.
We invent one for you.
Right. So Connie, tell us, so where were you born?
I was born in South Germany, in near the Lake of Constance. So it's quiet,
Which
like a small village, no big cities around.
which I've been to, because living in Switzerland, Lake Constance is both on the Swiss side and the German side.
Mm.
So I've crossed that way as well to go into Germany. So, but you don't live there now?
No, I moved to Hamburg 9 years ago, and actually wanted to move to London 4 years ago, but met my my partner, so I stayed in Hamburg.
Right. So you met him in Hamburg, or?
Yes.
All right.
Shortly before I wanted to move.
So you're in Hamburg eating hamburgers?
Yes.
Okay. That's where hamburgers came from, wasn't it? Hamburg? No, excuse me, just being silly. No, so you've been there for 9 years now, and let's take you back a little bit to your childhood. So you've got brothers and sisters?
Yes, I got 2 amazing siblings, one older sister, 4 years older, and my brother is 2 years older. So I'm the youngest, and they're really great, and always were my best friends.
So they're really quite amazing. I mean, I've read the notes, so I know how amazing they are, but maybe you can just explain a little bit about your childhood.
Yes, so they both actually raised me, or say they raised me, because my father was an alcoholic lifelong, so I never met him as a person without alcohol, and I was the unwanted child, so my mother never got sick of telling me that. So I wanted to have her love, and my father, of course, too, and they never give me that. So my sister and my brother always try to care for me and to cheer me up in the end of the day. So I'm really lucky having them.
So because you said your mother didn't care so much for you, which is a terrible thing, particularly for a daughter. And your brother and sister were kind of the substitute parents in a way. I mean, your best friends, you said, and they helped out. Was the relationship with your mother the same with your other siblings?
They both don't have the best relationship towards her, but she cared more for them. So she gave their attention to them more than to me. So they have a stable relationship.
And your relationship now with your mother is
I had no contact for a long time, so I'm trying to build up a connection right now, a healthy one, but it's very complicated. So this year I'm meeting her for Christmas for 3 hours. That's enough. And I'm really nervous about it because I haven't seen her in for Christmas for 6 years now.
Wow.
So it's time.
But you're meeting her with your brother and sister as well?
Yes. So
Right.
I hope it's not going to be explosive.
So a bit of a family reunion, although unfortunately not with your father.
No, he died 2 years ago because of alcohol and depression. So it was a hard chapter for all of us, his addiction in particular. So, but it's also a relief that he is not dragging us down, because this addiction to alcohol was really hard for everyone. And it was hard to keep boundaries, and you couldn't help him. He didn't accept it, or we tried hard to do everything what was possible, also as child. So my brother went with him to the anonymous alcoholics in the age of 8. I joined,
8?
yes.
The age of 8?
Yes.
Wow.
He actually tried to get away from the alcohol because we were so young and needed him, but it was hard for him. So he suffered a lot.
Was he subjected to alcohol as a child? I mean, were his parents alcoholics or anything?
No. But he started to drink in the age of 13. So his addiction came very early. So I think in the beginning of 20 already was addicted to alcohol, but you wouldn't know because it was 2-3 beers a day. So it wouldn't be that obvious that he already got addicted.
But he worked, he had a job whilst...
Yes. There, I don't know how the English word is, but there are, I think, functional alcoholics. So they can work, you don't really notice that they are drunk. So my father was this kind of alcoholic.
He wasn't a bus driver then?
No, but he lost his driver license. 2.6.
I just think you don't want to be an alcoholic being a bus driver. Okay, so unfortunately, no longer around. And your brother and sister, I mean, they live near you now?
No, they both live in the south of Germany, so the distance is hard. But I didn't want to live near my mother and my father, so I moved.
Okay.
Away distance to them.
So you never did go to, you mentioned you were going to go to London. So did you ever end up doing anything in London or going there?
Not for the future, but I have been to London with 15 with my sister. So she did apply for a childcare job, and I didn't want to stay at home alone with my family. So I begged her to take me with her, and she organized that. So with 15, I was the whole summer in London helping her with childcare, and it was the time when I fall in love with London.
So you'd like to go and live there at some point?
Someday, maybe.
Yeah, everything is possible. So yeah, take me a little bit through kind of the childhood in activities and interests that you had.
Yeah, I'm a very curious curious child, so I did love anything or everything. I've been inventing games with my brother. Yeah, everything. I liked sports. I liked arts because my siblings both are really creative. So I always wanted to be better than them. So I could get attention from my parents some way, and so we did a lot. We went fishing with my father, although he was drunk most of the time, and we did the fishing. We constructed a lot with wood, and we also get hurt a lot with constructing because my father weren't really watching. So my brother and I did things. We had fun, but it was dangerous sometimes.
Yeah, and you mentioned arts and sports and things. So, I mean, I took a sneaky look at some of your social media. So I found that you're quite an artist, actually, because what I looked at was excellent. So tell us a bit more about the art. When did that start, and what do you typically draw?
Well, it started in the age of 2 or 3 because my sister already went to school, and she came back with all the pictures she draw in school, and I wanted to do the same. So I started very early with drawing, and I wouldn't stop crying if I couldn't do the same as her. So she taught me how to draw, and of course it started with some doodles and something like flowers. When I get older, I liked the street artists who can paint people, photorealistic people, and I never give up to reach this goal. So I love drawing people, and sometimes if friends ask me to draw some relatives for a present or something, I make them some.
But you draw them in life? I mean, in real life? I mean, someone sits there in front of you and you draw?
No, I'm too slow for that, but I have a picture and then I...
Oh, so they send you a photo or something and you draw it from the photo? Right. Yeah, because I had a look and they're quite amazing. So you still do that now?
Yes, it's a really interesting hobby because it's relaxing. Sometimes I don't notice how long I sit there and just draw. It happens that I sit there about 18 hours and didn't eat, didn't drink something. So I'm really focused on drawing. But I don't have so much time anymore because of work. So it's I try to do it very often or as much as I can, but
you don't do it as a business? No.
It always should be a hobby for me. I think if I would do it as a business, I would lose the interest very fast, because you need to have this creativity mood. You have to need the right setting.
So do you think if Bojan sent you a picture, you could do a good one of him, make him look better? Yeah, no, I definitely encourage you. I mean, we'll share some links anyway. You can always put them in the LinkedIn chat and stuff in the group there. So, but it's definitely worth taking a look at some of these pictures because they're excellent.
Thank you.
Right. So you also mentioned sports. Now, also because I was a bit nosy and having a look around. So, I mean, sports, you're doing something, I don't know how many other sports you've done, but you do something quite athletic.
Yes, I do martial arts. I do taekwondo. So I just passed my red belt exam 2 weeks ago and now preparing for my black belt.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
So don't mess with you.
Better not.
You're dangerous.
Yeah. Right. And how long does it take to get to that level?
Depending if you train every day, and I used to train 3 until 5 days a week.
Wow.
Then you need 5 years to get to 4 until 5 years to get to prepare for the black belt. And now if I keep the level of training, I need 1.5 years to reach my black belt.
So you have to do some fighting as well?
Yes.
Right.
But I think the most fun is the break test. So you have a wood plate and you have to break it.
Right. Okay.
I know judo jiu-jitsu, karate, and other Japanese words. Okay.
I know origami. But anyway, that's another story. So just don't mess with you, because yeah, you'll practice some of your
We can mess
martial
on
arts.
Zoom, but not in.
Zoom, that's touched.
So,
No, I can find you.
so have you got any other hidden treasures there that you could do? So art. Well, I mean, you do two types of art. You do art, as in drawing, and you do martial arts. So, and anything else?
Well, I think the hobbies I do spend a lot of time with, but I also do other paintings, like the ones I painted here on my wall. So repouring, everything creative, like handicrafts. I do a lot of pyrographic.
Oh yeah.
For presents, and I do like to learn new things. So I'm also coding sometimes.
Okay.
And
So
everything.
So I'm just curious now, with your education and stuff. So at school, when you were a child, did you kind of have an idea of what you wanted to do when you grew up?
Many ideas. So started to do something social. I wanted to be a teacher. Then I wanted to be a chemist.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a scientist, math freak, or I don't know, mathematic.
Oh yeah, mathematician.
So, yes, this one. And then I wanted to do social things. Like I did an internship in a kindergarten and in a hospital as a nurse. So my sister was a nurse and now she's a doctor. So I also wanted to do that. But I also was interested in engineering. So my brother's an engineer, and I also got stuff like that, constructing, architecture, like everything.
So it seemed, because you mentioned when you went to London, you were doing more of a thing with children, so on the social side, and maybe from your background, the social side seems to fit in as well. But then engineering, because your brother was an engineer or is an engineer. So you then, when you left school, you wanted to then pursue kind of more the engineering side of the academical schools.
Yes, more the logical side, not the feeling and people. So I always wanted to, I started to study chemistry, but quit after one semester since I really hate lab work. It's just too boring to spend the whole day there, and it was boring. So I noticed that I do like to work with people, and that's something hard to combine in something like chemistry subject, or with math. It's hard to get people to know or to include the social aspect in those jobs. So it was hard for me to find something combining my social interests and my logical.
But you found that now?
Yes.
So,
because I think project management is the perfect combination of planning, strategizing, and actually a lot of theory combined with the social aspect, that you have to communicate, you have to bring the people together. So you have to do the communication at first. So that's one thing I think in project management is very important, but you also need to understand all the expertise. You have to transfer the knowledge between different aspects. And normally you have the developers and then you have the users, and they have really hard time to communicate. So
so in the project management side of the things, how did you get that experience? I mean, did you study that and then going into work and a working environment where you became a project manager? Or tell me a bit more about that.
I started to, when I quit studying chemistry, I moved to Hamburg and started studying business, economic, and Chinese culture.
Because it was quite a shift then from chemistry.
Yes.
I mean, just to study something like that and then to give it all up to do something different.
Yes, but I tried to see my strengths, and my strengths were always that I were really organized and good in planning and structure to build structures and logical processes. So I thought business studies would be maybe the best approach for study, and at the same time I thought that I find some experience in the work life. So I started as a working student in a startup, in an IT startup, and got to learn project management. So I fell in love there with project management and never stopped doing it since then.
So I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with your martial arts, because you've got to be very disciplined.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a natural thing, not just in your kind of your personal life, but also in the business life. So you then, with the startup, you trained to be a project manager, or you were a project manager with them?
No, I just assisted in the first time I assisted a project manager, and they were so happy with my work, my hard working, and the project manager left the company. So my boss said, you can take over. So I started with small projects and then keep going, and after 1 year, I got this promotion to work as a project manager.
Excellent. And then after that, where did you go?
I worked in a startup for 5 years, and then I wanted to gain some experience in bigger companies. I started an internship at the ECE. I don't know if you know that. It's a Europe-wide company for real estate.
Okay.
But the topic wasn't really interesting, so I moved on, and then after my studies, I worked as a consultant, and I worked for the 𝗘𝗔𝗖𝗛 AG, German railroad company, and consulted them and led projects for optimizing. After that, I went to Airbus for also production optimizing.
Wow. So some quite big name companies then.
Yes.
So then after that, I mean, I mentioned that there was a number of pivot points in your life. Then what made you do what you do now, and what do you do now?
Actually, it was hard for me to compete with all the older people in all those companies. So many of my superiors or colleagues were kind of jealous that I have their skills in my age. So I was about 10 years younger than them. And
because you're only 22, aren't you?
I started in a startup with 19, so my first project was with 20.
But now you're only 22.
No, I'm 28.
28?
23.
I would have thought younger.
No. So 10 years almost working as a project manager now.
So the biggest challenge was the older, more senior people thought, well, what's this young girl thinking that she knows more than us or is better than us, and probably was better than them.
But there's a difference, because I never thought that I'm better than them, but I try to improve something and try to brainstorm together with them how to improve things. And they thought if their superiors would notice that I doing their work, they would probably get fired or something like that. So I also had superiors just took my work and sold them as their own. So I was in the end the stupid person who did the work and
they got the credit.
And yes. So in the end, I was so angry with everyone, and every company had the same structures. So I said I follow my own ideas, and I had a lot of them. So I started my own 2 companies.
So when did you start that?
The first one was now 6 months ago, but we started.
The first one was 6 months ago. How many
yes,
have you
the
got?
second one is now.
All right. So the first one was 6 months ago. What is that?
That's Project Pioneer, and it's a company which is focusing on project management, management structures, the logic, to also help young project managers to plan. So and to develop soft skills, because I think a lot of project managers either lacks the methodology or the soft skills. So I think it's very important that they know where to improve something.
Okay. So when you talk about soft skills, I mean, what in particular are you talking about?
To actually read the situation. So if someone does not, there's a difference of telling you something and meaning something else, and you need to exactly know when someone is hiding something from you, or you need to know if someone feels uncomfortable in a situation. You need to help those who are really introverted to speak up or to speak for them. So you need to, also there are people who always want to talk, so you sometimes have to do the meetings differently. You know, you do a meeting with the people who talk a lot, and you do a meeting separately with people who are more introverted, and then you combine those results so they can together work more efficiently.
Which seems to make logical sense, because I mean, it's not just about the project being on time or within budget or whatever it may be. It's also about ensuring that all the stakeholders are happy with the way things are going. And like, as you said, you notice it in all meetings. You get the people that they're the outgoing, egotistical, flamboyant style person that it's all about them. Yeah, the quiet person that sits in the background doesn't have a chance to speak, and maybe he's not the extrovert, but feels kind of disillusioned by the way things are going because they don't feel they have the voice. So combining the two together, not just in project management, but in everything, makes sense. We want to understand that everybody's kind of on the same page, and we're doing it together as a team and not just certain individuals.
Exactly.
So that was the first one. So how's that going, that business?
It's going well. So it also has two separate parts. So the first one is a social project. It's called the Green Project, and that's specifically for schools and high school students. I support them to conduct environmental projects, so they can combine their motivation for environmental protection and do actively something with projects. So I supervise them. I help them to build a structure to.
But this is as an individual consultant or independent consultant.
I wouldn't call it consultant, more like maybe a consultant, but more like, I don't want to tell them what they do. They need to learn it from their own, but I give them ideas. I push them. So to
like coaching. It's like coaching more.
Yes, coaching would be, I think, a better word for it, because I want them to develop themselves.
So who's your typical clients for that then?
Schools.
As in universities?
Not yet, but I want to do that later on with universities. Oh,
so a certain age group of kids at schools?
Yes. But you know, the Fridays for Future demonstration was from high school students, so I actually thought to start with them. But due to COVID, the motivation is lacking right now.
Okay. And now you talked about a second business, which you've just started.
Yes, it's about a heating system. I developed with friends a heating system now 2 years, so our first prototype is arriving soon. And then we want to reduce the heating costs in schools about 30%, also the energy efficiency. So we can save about 400,000 CO2 in 1 year when we install our system in 10% of the schools in Germany.
Right. So when you say hours, you're doing this with a team of people?
Yes, 5 people, but I was the initiator. So.
And one's your brother? One is your brother?
No.
No.
No, okay. It's people I work with. A lot of developers, because I do not software development.
Okay, so you kind of formed a startup or something, or?
Yes, we have an investor now. We have a developer. We have a product developer, the hardware, and
Okay, so the technology is your own technology?
Yes.
So someone's got basically a pattern on it?
It's not that we constructed our own product, but it's not new.
Okay.
So we have a lot, we combined existing parts to one new part, but it's very difficult to get a patent.
Okay, so why in particular schools? Because you already have a relationship with schools?
Also, but schools were always the left structure behind, because no one cares for schools, not even our
kids, not even the kids
care for school system and everything.
Yeah.
And there's so much potential, but because it's very difficult to get customers in this market, no one cares for this market section.
I care for it.
Me too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, I've got a vested interest. My kids go to school, so I want to make sure it's good, that they're warm and cozy going to school. They're not wasting energy, because when they come home, I want to tell them to turn the lights off and whatever. So you have a pilot project or anything at the moment?
with the green project, yes. I started. Oh, you mean with the heating system?
Yeah, with the heating system.
The heating system, we have a school where we want to install the system in January,
Yeah.
but we're not sure if we can keep the date. So the winter's getting shorter.
Yeah. So this could be, if they've got any existing type of fuel that they use for the heating at school, you can make it more efficient. All right. So it doesn't matter. I mean, because we have at the school here where we live, they use wood chips. So it's a wood chip burner, and that actually provides not just for the school, it provides for the whole community where we live. I mean, like 80 properties or so, all the heating. So I've got to make sure that nothing goes wrong with the school, otherwise we have no heating. But I mean, you could make schools like that more efficient in what they do. Right. So you're actually saving them money. They're cutting down on the CO2 level, so the carbon footprint, and more sustainable. So they're happy.
Yes, they can.
And you're good for the environment as well.
Yes. So it's a win-win situation for the schools, for the administrators, and for the environment. So
I mean, there's enough schools around the world to keep you busy, or even just in Germany. And then if you extended it out from schools to universities and then also to the workplace, that should keep you busy for a while.
Yes, I think so.
So there's huge potential there then, once people start seeing not just in the cost savings, but also the efficiency and kind of the areas of sustainability that you're covering. So how did that come about? I mean, you were working at the school and you thought, wow, it's too hot in here and they've got the windows open or something. What made you think of this?
I had this IT startup. I started my project management career. We had smart school projects, but they all were not really good. So we used the wrong technology for those projects and just didn't work out. So the schools had much more work with our technology than before. So I wanted to change the situation.
So this is already tried and tested. I mean, you had either pilot.
You know, the smart home products, I don't know if you know how they work, but they're not made for schools. Like they need batteries. And if you want to change batteries at home, it's maybe 10 batteries changing. That's not a problem. But if you have about 100, 200, 1,000 devices, you don't want to change the batteries of 1,000 devices. That's just time consuming and no one would do that. And then
It's nightmare.
Yes, so that's one point why smart home technology is not made for schools. The other thing is if you have lost connection to the internet or to the network, it's not working. So every room is cold, and that's something you can't, just don't want the students to sit there and freeze the whole time.
Yeah, we had a good solution when I was a kid. If it was cold in the classroom, keep your coat on.
You can do that, but the parents today would demonstrate.
Complain. Oh yeah,
Like
because
that.
it has to be a certain degrees, 20 degrees or whatever is the minimum or whatever. So what is your role within this company then?
I both founded them or initiated them. So I'm doing the whole business stuff. I'm doing the strategies. Although with the heating system, I do have a managing director or co-partner.
But when you have a client, then you do the project management as well.
Yes, I do the planning, the installing, everything. So my main partner in this company is the developer, and he's for the whole technical stuff responsible. So if he says we need to change the cables,
so where are you in the business? Does everybody live nearby?
Hamburg, yes.
Okay, and you met all of these via kind of an early startup that you used to work with, and
only I started this project with two, and I worked with them in this IT startup. But one of them, we kicked him out because he had different visions than we did. And actually, my co-partner is I only met him once.
All right, okay.
We
right.
Almost just.
So how did you all come together?
I know them, so I told my vision, and they thought it was a great vision. So
right. So one of the schools that you'd like to work with is one of the schools that you already do some coaching with. Yes,
it's the same school actually.
Okay, so then they need you because they're leveraging on kind of your contacts as well. Okay, so you mentioned about the business. Does it need funding, investment money, or are you self-funding?
We are self-funding right now. We have one investor, or two actually, but it's not on a small basis, and it's friends and family mostly. So it's the money we needed for the development.
Okay, and
but
for the product itself, because it's third-party products, I guess, that you're putting together as a solution. So are they coming locally or from China or combination of different places?
Well, mostly from China, but we will make them or Germany. So we buy them from China because it wouldn't make sense to buy them from Germany. About 100 times more expensive than from China, and it's not even the same quality. So sometimes Chinese quality is better. German quality on this part. So we buy them from China and build it up together in Germany. Okay,
so you have a warehouse or a factory or workshop or something?
Not yet, because our plan is not that we build or construct thousands of products in 1 year. We start with the piloting phase next year, and we have I think about 500 products, so I can keep them in my office.
Garage. You need a garage to start.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so with the school that you're working with at the moment, I mean, they've agreed that they'd like to move forward with something?
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, the school that you're working with at the moment, they have agreed with you that they would like to kind of pilot or test this out?
Yes. No, one of our team members is a teacher there.
All right.
Our focus was to combine not only developer side, but also my view and the teacher's view. So we
All right.
have product especially constructed for schools with every insight.
So what was the kind of the selling point? The cost saving or what?
Cost saving, yes.
Right.
You know, it's heating with timetable. So if you don't have, if the classroom is empty, it's not heated.
Yeah.
So if there are students coming in, the room is already warm.
So this is kind of automation that you put similar to. I'm expert in automation, industrial automation.
It's the same as smart home products, actually.
Yeah,
but
what maybe
for
to.
schools.
That's very interesting what you're doing, really. And it's similar also to what I do, but it's you on the focus now. So,
Right. So what are your biggest challenges at the moment, or where do you need help?
Let's connect to other schools, especially for the Green Project, actually, because the high school students are lacking motivation. So every teacher, every school director, every high school student who's interested either in a heating system or in environmental protection projects, that would be helpful.
So you can do this online, or it has to be in person?
You mean the Green Project? No.
Yes. Yes.
It's a digital concept because, you know, I started it in 2020, and after COVID, we had to stop doing those projects, and that was really sad because the projects were really nice. I was so excited to see them come or see the students to work on it, but then we had to stop it. So now I developed a digital concept so they can do it from home and also with video meetings and so on.
Yeah, I mean, we have the technology to do kind of a virtual classroom session from home. Like now, you can give us some training. Right. So the school obviously pay for that. This is a service. And then with the other one, I mean, it'll be a combination of a physical solution as well as kind of, I'd guess, some support or maintenance or some agreement that you look after them moving forward. Okay. So, it sounds very interesting. And yeah, so you'll be looking for, what you would like is to get into other schools within the Hamburg area or within
everywhere. And I also work on a worldwide exchange for the students. So, for example, I was on vacation in the Dominican Republic last week, and I was wondering if the exchange between the students there and the high school students here would be nice, because then the students here would see what luxury problems they have. They don't live in poverty, they have the possibility to change something, and maybe the exchange would be very helpful for both sides.
Yeah. What about the opposite? If it's too hot in the classroom, like you're in a tropical country?
You turn off the air conditioner.
Yeah. The next project, actually. So if we developed a heating system, I want to do the same thing with
a cooling system.
Yes,
Yeah.
system.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to go into a room that's like freezing cold. I've been many in those. It's been so hot outside, and then I'm sitting in the fridge, and I think it is just too cold. Okay, so all sounds excellent. So what is it that we could help you with? I mean, opening up doors to schools?
Yes.
Right. In Bulgaria, any schools there?
Yes, my wife is a teacher.
Yeah.
And I have the keys of a bunch of other schools. So,
right.
In fact, I really like what you do. Briefly, I'm in a lot of our project with the software implementations. You really need to train people also on project management, because they tend to convert projects into process, so it's never-ending story. This is very, maybe you know it better what it is. This is the risk. So the project dilutes and it goes forever. So this is the scare of every project manager. It needs to have end to finish. And the other is about the heating. And when I was studying industrial engineering, we studied like systems developed by Honeywell and other systems to manage the heating in the, let's say, big flat of blocks, etc. But I think maybe it's, at least at that time, it was way too expensive. Or it's maybe you're making something that is more practical, maybe with IoT or something like this to do this for schools. So it's really nice what you do. I also check your website for the project trainings. I have some advices for you, but I will get connected through the LinkedIn to give you some hints on this to improve. But of course, I will be happy to help you to promote also this heating project, because it's good to there is sometimes something in some countries, like in Bulgaria, not everything is taken too logical. So you see there are too much spending on heating, but maybe it's on purpose. Somebody's taking slice of it sometimes. But this is changing now to good side. And the heating is a huge expense for schools. It's and until they can save from this, we hope that more will go to the kids, to the teachers, so this is really good. So this needs also to make it more visionary, to advertise it, that so to be accepted. So we'll be happy to give you a hand in this direction too.
That would be nice. I'd love to connect with you more about this topic.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about the kind of the break-even point when someone invests in something. Obviously, this is initial cost, right? So at what point do they kind of break even before they start then going into a better return of investment?
If I would tell you the worst case would be 3 until 4 years. So it's a really good return of investment. Sorry,
if within what period?
3 until 4 years.
3 to 4 years.
And that's the worst case. And better cases only needs 1 until 2 years.
Okay, and then when they start saving, typically what percentage are they saving?
30%, because they save about 30% energy cost.
All right. So in year 4, they're saving 30% on the energy. Effectively, then they're greener, more efficient, and then obviously saves them money. So,
but this is 30% from the cold seasons, I guess, correct?
Yes.
So,
oh yeah, so it's only pretty much seasonal, because I mean you're going to have more demand in the winter and the colder weather than you would necessarily in the summer, and also the summer holidays you're closed. So yeah, I was thinking 3 to 4 years was a long time, but when you think about it, it's really maybe half of that, because half of the year either schools are closed or it's warm. They don't necessarily need the heating.
It's actually a really good time span, because you have an investment between say middle school, not a small school, not a big school, something like in the middle. You have about investment costs from 50 until 70,000 euro. So it's a really good time span to get this money in return 3 until 4 years. That's actually, with that big investments, not normal to have this short period of.
So for a project like this, I mean, it depends on the size of the school, I guess. the amount of equipment that you need to use. And yeah, but roughly, I mean, what's kind of a scale of the pricing that it costs someone to do something like this? I mean, if it's a school of X size, it would be typically, are we talking millions or tens of thousands or?
No,
Billions. You buy the municipality, you get all the schools, you fix it.
can you repeat that again?
Yeah, so
the question is, can I rephrase it if I got it?
go on then.
Yes, if you have a typical school, let's say gymnasium with like 50 rooms, 5 floors, do you have a typical, let's say, pricing, how much it will cost to implement your solution?
Depending on the room and the number of devices. Because, you know, every room needs to be installed with cables. So because we do not use wireless, because it's just not stable. If loses connection, it's no heating. So we use cables in a room and the network system existing in the schools. So it needs a little bit more of installing costs.
Okay, so typically you'd have to do basically an assessment first, what they've got, what they could use. But if they're already using Wi-Fi, you would suggest a fixed cable or something.
Yeah, because you know every school uses a network.
Mm-hmm.
They have smart boards nowadays. They have the
Cabling.
for laptop. Yeah, they have the stuff for laptops and computers and so on in every classroom. So in Germany, I know every classroom has to have at least three connection points.
Outlet is called.
Yes, that the one. So we can use one of them.
Oh, okay.
And wireless, there is a study about wireless connection in schools, and it's just not that common. And it's very difficult in big buildings to have it in every corner with a stable connection.
What you can think about, for example, in countries like Bulgaria, not every room has outlets for the computers. There is a way to the devices that actually the regular plug for electricity can be used for exchanging information. So maybe you can also use this. For example, several rooms, you can be one point, then you can also use this existing electricity net to kind of maybe savings for them, not need to rebuild new cabling and drilling and something like this too. Yeah,
we've also thought about this possibility.
Right, so we've kind of come to the end now. Now, I would like to follow you and see how you're getting on, and also how this works with the schools. And then once you've done one, to obviously see the success of that. So, and I guess depending on the size of the school is how long the implementation is going to take as well, and costs associated. But I mean, it sounds great. And the fact that you are doing a lot for the environment, you're doing a lot for the well-being of the kids as well. I mean, you don't want to go to a classroom that's either too hot or too cold, or heated when you don't need it heated, or so on. So a smarter heating system definitely makes a lot of sense. So, but also to share some of the links that you mentioned about your artwork, also your martial arts, and anything else that you particularly want to share. So if you've got some links that you want to share with us, if you can also drop them, not in the chat here, but into the, well, it could be either in the chat here, because I'll copy the notes over into the group. So you can either share them there in the chat window or directly in the group as well. So people can follow you. If people want to contact you, what's the best way?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
And I think if someone's really interested in my artwork or my sport, the best way to see that is Instagram.
Can you share the link?
Page.
Please share the links in the chat. The James will copy them.
Well, yeah, I can just drop them here because
you already collected.
well, the ones that were shared with me, that they're already here. But I mean, we can share them in the chat, in the group chat one, rather than here, because here will be lost anyway. So, yeah, on that, you've given us a kind of a history of you and a pretty tough upbringing, and you've gone through a lot of challenges, but you've stayed very positive. You've worked your way through these, and it sounds like now things are moving in the right direction. So have you got any advice that you would want to leave us with that could help us think about how you overcame these and a way forward for us?
I think it's always about perspective. So you said the things are right, going right now in the right direction, but I think even if they're not going in the right direction, there's always something positive about it. You know, we all complain about COVID right now, and I think no one is happy with the situation, but there are also very positive outcomes, like reconnecting to the family members or to enjoy the advantages of home office. Just small things, for example, but there's always a positive side of every situation. And if you see every hard challenge as or you see the positive outcome of every challenge, that might help to overcome the challenge. Well,
it's basically the law of attraction. I mean, if you focus on doom and gloom and everything's not going well, then you're attracting that. If you look on the positive side, like as you say here in your notes, you said that stay positive, because there's always people, or you could always be in a worse situation. So maybe it's not as bad as you think. You're just thinking in the wrong way. Change your mindset and switch it to a positive way of thinking, and then things won't look so bleak.
Yeah, and I think that is a combination with taking responsibility. It's very important, because in my opinion, a lot of people just gave up to take responsibility of their own life. So to just say to change the situation, sometimes the situation is not that good, but you always can decide who you are, who you want to become, and what you want the situation to become.
So if you want to change the situation, you did change yourself.
Not always, you know, you don't have to change yourself every time, but you can just change your surrounding. Like, I stopped the contact with my family because I didn't want to change myself. I was really happy of the person I became, and they didn't accept me like I was. So I told myself it's better to stop trying to be happy family in the end, because it's never going to happen. So I can just leave them, and I was really happy leaving them, and I don't I'm not sad about leaving them.
Yeah, it doesn't bring you down. So on that note, I wish you great success, particularly at Christmas time, because you said you're going to see your mum after so many years. Right, so good luck with that, and let us know how it went, and keep in touch with us. I mean, I'm sure you will, but you can always update us in the chat, in the group, and just say how things are going. If you want to reach out for any help or support, then use it for that as well, because everyone that's been a featured business, we're all here to help one another. That's the whole idea. So you shouldn't feel shy to reach out, because we're one family moving forward.
One doubt. See, you make cooler systems also, right? Do you make cooling systems also, Connie?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you make cooling systems also? You make heating systems?
Not yet. I was thinking about cooling system when I was in the Caribbean. So I always thought about doing the same for the systems, but you know, it's hard if you're not living in a country with the situation that you know all the systems there. So I don't know the heating or the cooling systems.
Mostly in Asia and Middle East, they would require all cooling systems because it's very hot here, out here.
This is very important. Paul has the keys for all schools in India.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, the other thing you have to consider in terms of cost is the infrastructure. Is the infrastructure even capable of delivering a cooling system? You know, I mean, if you're in a country where, you know, power blackouts are a regular thing because the delivery system can't handle the load, or just doesn't have the capacity to handle the load. That's something that you have to consider as well. Does the infrastructure even allow to create a system like that?
Yeah, you can have solar panel cooling
Yes,
because you get a
not
lot of
only.
sun.
I mean, solar panels, I could see maybe, you know, in terms of boosting power, but, you know, that's something that also has to be factored in.
There is something, past several years, I'm really keeping an eye on kind of, let's say, passive heating and cooling system. So to use the energy from the solar, normally it doesn't fix everything, but it's really a huge cost saving. So for example, you can put like vertical for the cold countries like Russia, they use and they make solar air coolers, air heaters. So when the sun is down, it's heating, and it doesn't heat the house, but it really cuts a lot of the bill from the heating. So, and this is passive. You build it and it's working on its own. And similar technology, you can use it for cooling.
I think we're overcomplicating things. I think you need bicycles in the classroom, right? And the bicycles, when it's hot, they have that big fans on that you drive, and as you're pedaling, you're cooling off your buddies beside you.
But you're generating heat as you do it.
No, it's good exercise. So you're keeping fit in the classroom. You're cooling your buddies down. On the opposite, if it's too cold, then you're warming yourself up and you're generating something that's producing heat.
The more you do, the fan is blowing faster.
I just think we overcomplicate things, and we're thinking of things too technical, when I'm sure a bicycle could be multi-purpose.
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember going to a Mind, Body, Spirit festival, and people were making smoothies, but with people actually pedaling a bicycle. So, I mean, yeah, it is possible, but I think, you know, in a school of 5,000, 7,000 students, that's a little bit much to ask.
No, it'll stop them getting fat, you see, and it's good. It's part of the well-being, right?
Oh, okay.
I mean, I saw, which always amazes me, this really old guy in Portugal, right, in an old village, going around, he blows a whistle with a certain tune, and he sharpens knives. He puts his bike up on a stand, so it's free now, the back wheel's free. He connects something and he pedals, and then it moves a wheel like for sharpening knives. And I thought, this is ingenious, right? He's using just his own power. He doesn't need anything electric. There's nothing going to break down and all of that. And I just thought, so clever. So sometimes we overthink things. And when you think, I always said at the sports center, all the people that are in the spinning class, why aren't they spinning? I mean, you're spinning like for an hour, generating a lot of energy, but nobody's using it. Why don't you use it to power the lights? I mean, I just think that we don't think of simple things.
Maybe, but I think the problem is to save the energy for the time you need it. Because if you would need the energy right at the same time when they do the spinning lesson, that would be no problem. But if you need the energy 2 hours later, it's more a problem. But what's happening?
Or
with
maybe you need to
save
that energy in batteries.
Yeah.
That's actually quite interesting development right now. So they're about to invent the right solution for saving the energy.
I think they should, what is it? Refocus, reframe, something, schools. And just look at a school. How does a school work at the moment? And write it all down and think, no, we can improve that, and then kind of, reimagine schools. So then make a school of the future where absolutely everything would change, including the teachers.
I think the schools needs a kind of revolution, something to, because from one side, it's a very stable over the time structures on the way they do it. Like maybe COVID put everybody did the digital transformation for many companies and also for schools, for education, but it needs to get better, I think, to fulfill not only memorizing, it needs to change, in my opinion, the educational system in general.
Everything, particularly Connie, going back to what you said, in project management, there was no kind of empathy and like emotional skills and kind of the softer skills. Now, when do you ever hear of that at schools? Never. It's all academical skills. So it needs to be introduced right at the beginning. So maybe you can, that's something that I personally want to introduce at schools. I also have some programs on that. So actually we should speak, so you can help me into some of your schools. And then as I'm targeting schools, I can help you into some schools here.
Definitely.
Right, okay. On that note, Connie, you've been our 69th guest. So thank you very much. It's a wonderful story. And yeah, share the links and everything. The recording I'll also put in the group chat, whatever. So you'll see that. And we have one more guest for next week, and then there's going to be a break for the Christmas period. So thank you again, Connie, particularly at short notice and coming back from the warm. I hope we've warmed you up.
A little bit, yes.
Right. Okay. On that note, I wish you all a wonderful weekend.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Connie. That was very interesting.
Great.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.